great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be, we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean, could you just
it's huge in Iran, though.
Bill, you know, when I
mention The View in Iran, all with the same head cover. You can't even tell which one is which.
Bill Maher has taken another swipe at Whoopi Goldberg, this time in response to one of her more controversial remarks. In a sharply delivered segment, Maher joked that The View should either be taken off the air or simply not taken seriously. So what exactly did Whoopi say to prompt Maher's reaction? And what did he say that's now fueling online discussion? I've got the clips lined up, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's dive in. Whoopi Goldberg has made several headline-grabbing comments over the years. From her take on the Holocaust to comparisons involving political figures, she's no stranger to controversy. But her latest remark? It might top them all, and Maher didn't hold back. He called out the statement directly and questioned whether it's time for The View to face some serious scrutiny. Check this out.
Whoopi Goldberg saying it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran. You know, I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is a great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be, we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean, could you just
it's huge in Iran, though.
Bill, you know, when I
mention The View in Iran, all with the same head cover. You can't even tell which one is which.
Bill Maher has officially had enough of The View, and especially Whoopi Goldberg. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Some of Whoopi's recent statements have sparked criticism from people across the political spectrum. Even many on the left have started to distance themselves from some of her views. Maher didn't hold back. He argued that Whoopi has gone too far with her rhetoric and believes The View has become an echo chamber, one that pushes polarized narratives and discourages genuine dialogue. According to Maher, the show isn't just frustrating. It's drifting away from the core values that once united Americans: open discussion, independent thinking, and a shared connection to reality. This all came to a head during a heated exchange between Alyssa Farah Griffin and Whoopi Goldberg on the subject of human rights violations in Iran. Alyssa pointed out that before Iran became an Islamic state, women enjoyed basic freedoms. But once the regime took control, those rights were severely restricted. Women could be arrested for leaving home without covering their hair. LGBTQ individuals faced persecution, and critics of the regime were met with harsh punishment. Then Whoopi responded and delivered what many considered her most baffling take yet. Let's take a look.
Throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say.
According to Whoopi, systemic violence committed by authoritarian regimes abroad is somehow comparable to isolated incidents carried out by individuals in the U.S. That's a serious comparison, and it's raising eyebrows. She's drawing a parallel between a theocratic regime with a record of severe human rights violations and a democratic country that enforces protections for individual freedoms. And that's where the concern lies. Some critics argue that, instead of calling out oppression overseas for what it is, certain commentators redirect the focus toward domestic issues, often reframing the narrative in ways that downplay serious global injustices. When public figures minimize real atrocities to make political points, it can seem disconnected from the reality many people face around the world. It doesn't encourage awareness, it creates confusion and division. And that's part of the reason some audiences are beginning to tune out voices they once trusted. But this discussion doesn't end here. There's more.
Why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Whoopi Goldberg recently made a comparison that sparked strong reactions. She suggested that the experiences of Black Americans today may still reflect deeper systemic struggles, and in doing so, drew a parallel with life under Iran's theocratic regime. Critics were quick to respond. They point out that the U.S., despite its challenges, is a democratic nation with legal protections, freedom of speech, and growing representation of minorities in leadership, including the election of a black president and many high-ranking officials. Meanwhile, Iran continues to impose harsh restrictions, particularly on women and LGBTQ individuals, with severe consequences for dissent. To many, the comparison felt off-base, even offensive. They argue that equating the two overlooks the severity of state-imposed oppression in places like Iran, where basic human rights are often denied. The conversation quickly gained traction, with voices like Rita Panahi weighing in. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Happening in America, a black person killing another black person, for example, for which the perpetrator will be punished, is the same in Whoopi's warped mind as the state killing you because you're a minority, because you're gay or an infidel, for example. Let me be clear. The Iranian regime will hang you from a crane in the public square for crimes like blasphemy, witchcraft, homosexuality, and of course, if you dare show any dissent, if you challenge the brutal regime. Whoopi thinks that's pretty much how black folks are treated in America. You absolute disgrace of a human being, Whoopi, to show absolutely no regard for the Iranian women who risk their lives to challenge the Islamist government.
This is where the risk of constant virtue signaling becomes clear. It can come across as performative and, at times, deeply misinformed. In Whoopi Goldberg's view, she believed she was making a powerful statement in support of the black community. Her intention may have been to highlight injustice, but the comparison she made between the experiences of black Americans and the oppression of women in Iran sparked significant backlash. Here's the reality. Comparing systemic racism in a democratic society, where individuals have legal protections, voting rights, and civil liberties, to a regime where women can be imprisoned or punished for showing their hair isn't just inaccurate. It risks minimizing the very real struggles of both groups. Complex, deeply rooted issues should never be reduced to surface-level comparisons. Rather than elevating either cause, statements like these can unintentionally diminish the lived experiences of both Iranian women and black Americans. That's not meaningful advocacy. It oversimplifies hard truths in the name of rhetoric. Now listen to this powerful response from Representative Wesley Hunt.
Direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedown plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
So wait,
I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America.
These are the kinds of facts and perspectives often left out of conversations like the one Whoopi Goldberg sparked. Take, for example, the story of a black man whose son rose through the ranks to represent a predominantly white district in Texas. That's not just progress. It's a clear example of the opportunities that exist in America for those who seek them. No one is saying the United States is perfect. Far from it. But the country has made significant social, political, and cultural strides that remain out of reach in places like Iran. In the U.S., people from all races, genders, and backgrounds not only have the right to be heard, they often rise to positions of real influence. They can protest, vote, run for office, and shape their futures. Compare that with a nation where women face legal restrictions and political dissent is often silenced overlooks important context. It's not a fair or constructive comparison. Acknowledging progress doesn't mean ignoring injustice. It means recognizing the difference between open societies and authoritarian regimes.
Yes. And one of the ways we celebrate it is Juneteenth. That's a Texas holiday. It began in Texas in Galveston.
Galveston,
General
right?
Granger
Galveston,
came
Texas.
and read the order number 3. that finally abolished slavery months after the war because the war took a time to get to Galveston. We celebrated that when I was a kid in Texas, but it becomes national a year or two ago, and Donald Trump doesn't want to celebrate that. To me, it's exactly what you're talking about. So is it 600,000 people died so that we wouldn't enslave people anymore, and the fact that freedom won is a good thing, and we should honor that. That's what Juneteenth's about. And I don't know why President Trump doesn't want to honor that.
So I don't want it. I don't want Black History Month. I don't want all these days for it to make everybody feel special. I'm the 80s baby. Everybody's too sensitive anyway. We're all Americans anyway. This holiday
That's what Morgan Freeman said.
Morgan Freeman, said, I can't agree more with him.
Yeah, he said that to Mike Wallace. He said, I'm an American. Do you want to be called a Jew American, Mike?
No.
Why is it that discussions of identity politics so often overshadow moments that could bring people together? Even during what should have been a unifying and powerful speech by Congressman Wesley Hunt, the focus shifted, with another political jab at former President Trump. Instead of celebrating the message, it turned into a moment of division. Many argue that one of the most effective ways to move past racism in this country is to stop emphasizing racial identity in every conversation, and instead focus on shared citizenship, on seeing each other as fellow Americans. That means recognizing achievements based on merit, character, and contribution, not just identity. While honoring different cultures and histories is important, constantly segmenting society into racial categories can unintentionally reinforce the very divisions we aim to overcome. True unity grows from shared values, equal opportunity, and the belief that every person should be free to succeed without being defined solely by their race or background.
Their struggle and compare it to your fevered dreams about oppression in America in 2025. It's been sickening to witness the backflips from so many leftist feminists who just 3 years ago said they stood with the women of Iran as they fought against the country's oppressive hijab laws. The Women Life Freedom Uprising has long been forgotten, it seems, by the left, who would rather rail against Trump and Israel than be honest about the threat a nuclear Iran poses to the region and to the world.
Rita raises an important point, one that highlights a concerning inconsistency. Not long ago, courageous voices like Maher Alinejad, an Iranian activist, were calling on the international community to stand up for women's rights in Iran. Though not part of the mainstream Western feminist elite, her advocacy briefly captured global attention, drawing support from celebrities and human rights organizations. But fast forward to today, and many of those same voices have gone quiet. Instead of continuing to raise awareness about the oppression of women in Iran, their focus has shifted to more familiar political targets like former President Trump or Israel. This shift has led some to question the sincerity of past activism. Were those earlier displays of solidarity rooted in true advocacy, or were they reactive moments tied to trending narratives? Iranian women are still facing serious challenges. The silence now doesn't mean those struggles have ended, only that fewer are still paying attention.
Back to Whoopi, whose pathetic tantrum was cheered on by the View's equally pathetic and dim-witted audience.
But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. When you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go.
Yes, thanks, Joy. Black folks in America have it as bad as the people in Iran. Thanks for that, Joy Behar, you simpleton clown.
At the heart of this issue lies a difficult truth. Much of today's public activism, especially from voices like Whoopi Goldberg and those who share her perspective, often feels more performative than principled. There's volume when a cause is popular, but silence when it calls for consistency and courage. Comparing the freedoms enjoyed in the United States, a country that has elected a black president, protects free speech, and elevates voices from all backgrounds, to the harsh realities faced by citizens in Iran is not just an inaccurate comparison. It risks downplaying serious human rights issues. When leaders like Representative Wesley Hunt speak powerfully, their message is often overshadowed by identity politics. When Iranian women speak out against oppression, their voices are sometimes lost amid more familiar political debates. And when the chance for meaningful change arises, it's too often drowned out by the noise of performative reactions. Moving forward means rejecting shallow narratives in favor of honest, consistent advocacy. Real progress isn't built on hashtags and headlines. It's grounded in integrity. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you found it insightful, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.